You can always like his tweets as well. Let's go to game 2.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you could go on the website every weekend and just think who is going to win those series? Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, that would be kind of an interesting thing. Like a little bit of a bracket play, similar to like March Madness
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
You're welcome, Blizzard.
That would be pretty awesome. I would also like to be able to go to the website, order a coffee while on the website, have it delivered to my favorite coffee place after reading all my information.
With the Heroes of the Storm sleeve.
With the Heroes of the Storm sleeve. Let's go to game number 2 here. Zealots actually picking Volskaya Foundry.
Okay, so are we going to see Adiatis Chromie?
Yeah, time trap build. It's a good point. That was pulled out at the Western Clash. We've seen the time trap build a couple of times now. Being able to stop that protector allows for him to stack like crazy, and stack like crazy he did at the Clash. What did he end up with? Was it over 100 stacks?
Yeah, it was over 100, but the game actually ended a lot earlier than we expected, so if that would have continued, I think he would have just skyrocketed completely.
Absolutely devastating Chromie build. Something that we'll have to think about as we go into the draft, and so will Leftovers. They may actually have to ban that out, because it was a bit fearsome.
Yeah, but Chromie is also not the first ban you normally think about. Against Leftovers, I feel, sorry, against Zealots, I think it would make some sense. But then you still have so many other great heroes around that are strong in the meta at this point. And I would expect Leftovers to ban meta over a target ban in this case. And Sonya makes sense. I mean, there's so much you can ban here. You can start with the Sonya ban. Stukov, which they covered earlier, is also a very good ban in this setup. I want to highlight something else, though, since we are heading into map number 2. Maiev wasn't even touched in the first game. Neither banned nor picked. Just throwing that out there.
Teams are getting better at dealing with her. Also, some surgical nerfs. She's, what, through 2 rounds of nerfs now, looking for a third soon here. Maybe she's in a good spot now. Stukov banned out. Will not be played as Leftovers are not feeling that silence and don't want to be shoved around anymore. And Zealots, what do you intend to ban here?
Zealots have also first pick again, so they can head into Sonya if they want to. Question still remains, are Zealots worried about Tracer? And yes, they are. This time, they are just hard banning her out immediately, not even bothering with any kind of Malfurion shenanigans here. Banning Trace out, taking it away from DAB, even though Lost and then Malfurion as the first pick for Leftovers.
Roots and heal, sustain like crazy. I feel like Malfurion is one of the best that you can pick on this battleground, simply because of the sustain that you want to have around this control points, and Malf provides that. Stukov as well, but now that Stukov's not picked out, suddenly Leftovers have the advantage in sustain fights.
Exactly, and now you're looking at a situation where the Zealots have to think about, okay, what's our heal going to be?
Yep.
Are we heading into Rega? Do we play an Uther composition? Or do we go for a completely different approach here? And that's going to be an interesting choice that they have to make at some point. I would actually expect it to be a bit later in the draft even, because if you pick an early Uther, Leftovers might have some poke heroes that they want to pick which exploit Uther's weakness and try to drain his mana pool and also take advantage of him more so focus on burst healing than AoE healing.
Zealots still thinking about what they want to pick up. Will they move into that Garrosh on the early side here?
Sonya is something that I would
Sonya's
expect
up
now.
here.
I feel if they don't take Sonya, Leftovers will happily claim her for themselves. So in this case, yep, Sonya and Garrosh, both of them taken right away. Strong frontline already and a huge presence that you have on the turret point.
A very strong front line. You can force the fights. You have the Sonya that can get in that back line, but also she does everything well on that solo lane that you need on this battleground. Being able to grab the mercenary camps, being able just to push out a lane, and also just be able to go toe-to-toe against anyone that is against her in that lane. Looking really good here for Zealots in their front setup. Now, Leftovers, I'm looking over to them. Will they be looking to grab their tank early? Johanna was banned out last time, someone that was pretty often against Garrosh picked up as of late, just to make sure that you can actually fight them if you have to move in and not get thrown. And the taunt, being able to dodge that thanks to an Iron Skin is always great.
You can still think about ETC for them,
True.
But again, they need something else together with him. And the question is always, do you, for example, head into Blaze? Blaze has a bit of a rough time against Sonya on that solo lane, which can be a problem. The one thing that would worry me if I'm on the side of Leftovers is that we could maybe see an Abathur play again. It's a big map, so you can make that play here. And Leftovers or Zealots are heading into a very similar... So far, it's the exact same draft that they had in game number 1. Leftovers are also trying to change up a bit with Johanna. You pointed out her being banned out, so they increased the priority on the hero. But yeah, from a damage dealer perspective, it's going to be interesting what the Zealots choose this time.
Well, so far, Leftovers just look great in sustain. Johanna was able to dance around, play around the Iron Skin cooldown, Junkrat poking like crazy, Malfurion to help out with the heals. They definitely don't want to be in a spot where they fight and the fight is done in 8 seconds, right?
Yeah.
They want to be in a spot where they slowly just burn down their opponent. Zealots should be considering that, trying to figure out if they want to go full linear with a draft. Do we want to fully dive a target and kill them instantly? or do we want to go ahead and try and match a little bit staying with the last 3 picks that we have in this draft?
A question for me is also, again, what the solo lane is going to yield for leftovers, and I could see Malthael in the setup. If they continue running this, Malthael with last rights would be an option since Blaze is now banned out. I mentioned him earlier, going up maybe against Sonya, and Medivh banned. And that makes a lot of sense here. It was actually interesting to see that Medivh wasn't picked in the first game, but since ADRD had the chance to go for Abathur, it made a bit more sense. Oftentimes in the European meta before the Western Clash, Abathur was a constant ban. It was actually one of the most banned heroes that we had. That has changed, of course, so now we see the Slug coming in a little bit more often. But still the question, there's Maiev, okay, so we finally get to see her, and Hanzo. For me, really, the big question now, are we going to see Malthael for the solo lane?
Malthael could work here. You have to be a little bit careful against that Maiev. Her being able to pull you in and prevent you from escaping is something that a Malthael does not like. Malthael being able to put down the Reaper's Mark and try to kite around and choose how he wants to fight the battle is really a strength.
Malthael has a couple of advantages against Garrosh. He would still be a bit weak maybe with Malfurion, but the one thing we've seen played is trying to arrange your attacks around last rights. And if you try to do that against Garrosh, I think you are going to have a pretty good time, because overall Mopsio likes to be very aggressive at the front, and we've seen him oftentimes barely saving himself. If they can maybe exploit that positioning that he has with Garrosh, where he tries to be aggressive with Malthael, they have some poke damage and they could play around the last rights cooldown, and they actually do exactly that. Li Ming for burst damage as well, and now we're seeing Malthael too. So, question still remains, it's going to be Tormented Soul, is it going to be Last Rites? But with Garrosh, I would not blame them if they go into Last Rites and try to focus the front line.
I just love the poke and the ability for leftovers to just dictate how they want to fight. They can just constantly poke with Junkrat, poke with Li Ming, and to a degree even poke with that Malthael a little bit. And as long as they have that Johanna anchoring for them well, they're going to be a good spot around those control points. Zealots on the right, they definitely can force a fight at any point based on what they already have. Going to need that support to come in here. You were mentioning Uther a little bit on the earlier side. Do you think anyone else might pop up, though? I feel like this is a spot where a Lucio might actually be kind of okay.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, we haven't seen a lot of Lucio lately.
Yeah, he's definitely fallen off.
He was very, very strong at the beginning of 2018 when most of the teams went straight for him. But you could play him here for sure. Divine Shield is still looking good in my opinion.
Let's find out.
There's a lot of hope though. Rhaegar with the healing wave is maybe a bit more of an idea. But yeah, both of them are fine. I mean, again, when it comes to supports right now, when we're actually talking about viable supports in the European meta, you are mainly looking at Stukov. You're looking at Stukov, Malfurion. Those are the top 2 picks.
Yeah.
These are the 2 that everybody contests. And then as the number 3 and the number 4 are Rhaegar and Uther.
Cleanse.
Occasionally we see something else coming in, but yes, you're playing around Cleanse, and it's also that burst heal that you have. North America, we've seen some Lily even being played over there. But in Europe, it's really 4 healers, 4 supports that have the main impact. And then, of course, you have a couple of pseudo-supports as well, where Abathur with the Carapace build can help out. You have Medivh on top of that. We've seen a fair share of Tassadar plays, from Zealots in particular, if you want to get that second support in. But there's definitely a core of 2 heroes, and then the extended core of like 4.
Unless you're HHE, and then it's Malfurion, Stukov, and Lily for your top 3 picks.
Yeah, as I said, NA has a bit of a different thing here, but NA also first picks Brightwing sometimes, so I don't know.
I mean, we have to consider it, Calidor, 100% win rate in North America when it comes to Lily, so
yeah,
don't forget it. Stats are important.
I am very amazed in my Hero League games about the priority that Lily receives in North America when I compare it to European games. It's interesting. Let's say it's interesting.
It's like it's a different region.
You have a Malfurion, and then in the last moment you say like, I could play Lily here.
Well, let's go to game number 2. Here on the left side in the blue, leftovers, DAB playing Li Ming, Bleckany playing Junkrat, Pody Boss on Malthael, Laber on Johanna, and Linked playing Malfurion.
And in the lead in our best of 5 here at the HGC Europe, to the right side we have the Zealots. Zarmany on Sonya, Chris this time on Hanzo, Mopsio of course once again at the Orc on the front line, Garrosh, we have Maiev played by ADRD, and Shat playing Rhaegar.
So we're going to keep an eye on that Sonya in the solo lane against a Malthael, trying to push it in there, doing what she can here to slow down her opponent. But I'm also a little bit more curious to see how leftovers deal with the control point. I like their poke, I like their sustain. It's just a matter of whether or not Zealots can find that angle to force a fight.
And I also want to see what kind of impact Maiev has now, since we've been talking about her a lot. She was played at the Western Clash, we've seen her at the Eastern Clash, but when you look at European League play, Maiev has only been played 4 times, and we are currently seeing her with a 25% win ratio, which is pretty low. So it's going to be super interesting to see how this is going to change here. If the Zealots are, for example, able to put another win onto the board, or if ADRD is being shut down by the setup that we're seeing from Leftovers. In particular, of course, the stuns that could come out of Johanna, or maybe even that burst damage to take him out early.
Yeah, we'll see if Johanna is able to lock down that Maiev. If we are talking about her not getting locked down, though, think about what is available for ADRD and Mopsio between the two. Being able to pull somebody in and go into a Willard's Taunt, into a Warden's Cage, should equal dead targets, especially that Junkrat or Li Ming if they do get caught out. Just a matter of finding whether or not they're able to get in there. Back to the turrets we go for our 2 teams, as this is typically what's happening on Volskaya Foundry. You want to be able to grab 2 turrets if you can when you get ready for that next control point, which spawns relatively soon.
The one thing that always I'm wondering about is we have seen a few games, and especially in the Eastern scene, it has been a lot more dominant, Tranquility on Malfurion.
Yeah.
So there are definitely a lot of arguments to be made if you have like a very team fight heavy objective where you could go into Tranquility once your opponent starts popping cooldowns. Twilight Dream is the main heroic ability that we have in Europe, and it has more than a 95% pick rate. But we still see in the Eastern scene a lot of Tranquility, and that's something that hasn't really made its way over back to Europe. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this is actually a consideration for the teams.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much it was used on the Eastern side, even against burst compositions. The idea being, okay, if we survive that initial front load burst that hits one of our targets, and then we just heal them full instantly, we can continue to fight. And it actually was pretty successful.
Yeah, if our opponent burns their cooldowns and we can then re-engage without having to back off first, then we find ourselves in a great position here, especially if your opponent is relying on a very cooldown-heavy setup with certain wombo combos, for example. So, that being said, I would still expect to have Twilight Dream being taken here, but it's one of those things worth keeping in mind, since especially the Korean teams have shown that affinity to Twilight Dream. And as we talked about yesterday, regions watch each other. You always try to get a bit of an idea, okay, what works in North America, what works in Korea? Is there something that we might copy and implement into our own strategies?
Well, speaking of what works here, we're going to have the control point up here in the middle, and we'll see which composition pulls out ahead. DAB coming in here for a little bit of poke, pushing in that middle lane as Leftovers look to control the point, but Mopsio, he's there right with them to try and fight over it.
Yeah, and this is, of course, again, the Protector, where there's a lot of damage to be had after the changes came in. We've seen Protectors moving through forts and towers like it's nothing and getting that early experience. I also want to quickly point out that with Maiev being available and pick, we do not have that Chromie that Zealots prioritized highly on this map. The Western Clash games with ADRD on the mage come to mind. And Mopsio still looking for these flips, and he is a terrifying presence at that front, chasing Leftovers all over the place.
Especially with Sonya nearby. Sometimes you turn around and you poke that Mopsio or that Garrosh a little bit, but Sonya being there is threatening enough, even with her just sitting on the mount, that Leftovers, every time that Garrosh steps up, they just pull away, and they set up a concave, because they're waiting for him to use the cooldowns first, because they don't want to engage, simply because of the threat that Zarmany provides.
Scope is all about the turrets here once again. Lauba has reclaimed, by the way, the control point. Sorry, Linked has reclaimed the control point. So they are starting to get some points for themselves. Level 7 talent in both hands now. And again, we're seeing Zealots being chased away here for the time being. But once that Zarmany has taken... Oh, nice flip here against Lauba. Once Zarmany has taken the bottom wave, he is going to join that fight, since currently Leftovers have an advantage in a 5 versus 4 situation.
Yeah, this level 7 pretty important too. That Calamity coming online for Li Ming.
Oh, yeah.
Also that level 7, the auto attacks for Johanna, bringing down the cooldowns there, allowing her to be a little bit more aggressive with that Condemn. There comes the Spear, getting straight onto Junkrat, but he'll pop on out there, jumping away, while ADRD grabs Lava here with the tether, pulls him into the fight. Iron Skin afterwards, as 2 turrets will be dropped down. Leftovers have decided to fight over the shrine.
The turret game is perfect now for Leftovers. This actually gives them a huge edge, and they will start to take an even bigger lead than they already have. But Zealots should still try and contest this in the later stage, and they're already doing exactly that. Of course, both of the teams still have the Fountain in the mid lane, so they can easily top the hit point pool back up. But here comes the engage, and Linked is in trouble as Sonya moved in from the side. Great engage from Zarmany, but ADRD on Maiev is incredibly low, and now Zarmany himself is in trouble.
And that Malfurion Root allows Link to back up. He's starting to heal up his teammates, poking where he can. Zarmany still continues to get low, and DAB gets that reset, and there is the kill. And this should be a Protector for Leftovers, and there it is.
Really well done here. Great play on their part. And it was, again, we saw Zealots coming in, and they had the perfect engage with Zarmini, finding the target, going full linked on Malfurion, and nearly dropping him. But then he exposed himself, of course, also to the counter-aggression. And we saw Maiev struggling very early, dropping low, and AD already had to move out. He couldn't help out anymore. And then Zarmini was in this weird limbo where he wants to move out, but he also wants to go back in with Whirlwind to heal himself up, gets caught in that little corner, and Malthael just keeps on him the entire time, and they take him out. And it was really well played. And I think a lot of the control came down to those two turrets that they grabbed earlier, and then they really established a good position there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. Those two turrets being placed in that top left corner are in a wonderful position. If anyone is engaged upon it and those aren't cleaned up first, and if you don't get that instant kill that was available for the Zealots, then suddenly you're in a situation where you're getting that sustained damage coming your way because they're positioned so well to allow leftovers to control the point. And you're right, those turrets were just enough to allow leftovers to turn around and get those kills.
And, you know, I also like the point that you made earlier with the level 7 power spike that especially Liming holds, because Calamity allowed DAB to be so much more aggressive, and it really showed. He wants to be on these carry heroes. We've been highlighting that throughout the weekend, where he plays with Tracer, he has Liming available, and he had a massive impact in the damage output on that first fight. And now the Protector is doing solid work, rotating from the middle to the top, just claiming towers at this point, and it gives them lead and experience. Mopsio needs to be careful here, actually.
Here comes the Riptire, and Mopsio just completely taken out. Not really paying attention fully. Didn't have to even use that Riptire as a protector. Was just enough to provide that damage, and suddenly the fort's under siege.
Yeah, exactly, especially with Hanzo already being so low. That Riptire hitting him forced him back. So now leftovers are even going for the fort at the top lane, quite easily at that. Mopsio just was too far out. Garrosh is amazing, but he doesn't have that escape. He can't just simply dash away or anything. So once that he was in that position, it was very difficult for him to get out.
Garrosh, most of the time, when he has a problem, he just throws something at it or throws it away. Can't throw away a protector.
I like the approach, by the way.
I like the approach. It's definitely showing exactly your strength over your opponent and how you just don't care so much. But Protector weighs a little bit too much, and Garrosh gets completely poked out there. A weird situation for him, but he'll be back soon.
Yeah, Garrosh, once he doesn't like something, he just throws a tantrum and throws stuff
He's
around.
basically a toddler that's like 8 feet tall.
You think he's like Lily? When Lily throws a little tantrum? Every single time when he, when she goes for the jog, she's like, ah, and just runs around and just like throws stuff.
I want the voice actor of Garrosh to say, look a flower. Let's go on an adventure. And Garrosh,
let's go on an adventure. But yeah.
Can we make that happen, Blizzard, please? If there's one request in my life.
How would that sound? Oh, look, a flower. Oh, look, a flower. And then he rips it out and throws it away, something like that.
He just growls after.
That's actually a great idea. If we had the voice actors from certain heroes doing the voice lines of other heroes that are like a direct counterpart in personality.
Cheers, love. The cover is here. Oh, man, too funny here. As leftovers are working on getting to level 13, we've got to wait until the next control point.
Let's come back to that voice line thing for a second, as the game is currently in a bit of a quiet limbo. Guys, make sure that you tweet your best ideas of who would go for a great voice line, what kind of swap we could have there at #HGC. I'm really curious, because I feel we could have some absolute gems there.
There could be some good ones there.
Yeah, so, and I don't think we can come up with those right away while we're still in the game here, but I'm pretty sure that you guys have a couple of ideas. So make sure that you send a tweet out to #HGC and at Heroes Esports.
I can't even like focus on the match now. Now I have suddenly Garrosh saying, Garrosh, want a donut? Like Olaf.
There comes the go, though. Boss is a bit far out and trying to get away, but Link is not able to get close enough, and that kill was perfect, especially since now we also have Malfurion in an awkward spot. The tether is in, and the attempt from Johanna, from Lauer to save him, but that didn't work out, so it's a double kill. But at least we see leftovers going for the counter-aggression against Garrosh.
Yeah, they are turning around here, looking for the fight. And also something to note is that we still don't have that level 10, that level 13 here for our Malthael.
Let me actually double check something really quickly. What, did Johanna take the pulse? Yes. No. Did he use it, or was it grabbed? Malfurion was holding the healing pulse, or didn't he? It seems like he used it and trying to keep himself alive, but yeah, that didn't quite work out for him.
We'll have to ask Garrosh, because we were talking about him instead during that.
I mean, it was a bit of an awkward moment, to be honest, in the fight, because the first thing that happens is that Boss is a bit too far out, and you have two heroes trying to save him, but while they attempt to save him, they themselves put themselves slightly out of position, and that was the demise of Malfurion. We still have leftovers in the lead, though. But look at also Malthael. He's holding back his level 10 still. They want to play around last rights, and that's exactly what they're doing. They want to target Garrosh at the front, and as we said earlier, and there it is already. Last rights comes in, they get it, and they get the kill, and it's a double as Sonya also falls. Great play from leftovers, and this is exactly the strategy that I wanted them to execute against Garrosh. This is what we talked about during the draft. You play around the last rights cooldown, and you're trying to pressure Garrosh, who's of course very susceptible against these Malthael attacks.
This is one of my favorite things about leftovers and the progress that they've made, is that in the past, whenever they would lose a team fight or two, it felt like they were kind of checked out. They were kind of done, right? They were trying to come in, maybe fight a little bit, but they're showing a little bit more spunk on their re-engages afterwards. They came in here and brought that last rights fight instantly, putting Garrosh down. And this is what has made leftovers progress as a team in the last couple weeks.
And it's a strategy that we actually saw yesterday from Method on Infernal Shrines. The problem is that when Method played it, they didn't have enough damage output. They didn't have that burst damage that Li Ming now provides. They were playing it with a similar composition, but basically instead of Li Ming, they had Medivh. And that just didn't work.
Yeah.
But right now, this is a really cool idea to put pressure onto that scary Garrosh at the front line. And they have the cooldown ready again. So if they get just some poke damage with Junkrat and a quick combo with Li Ming, that's an immediate last rights kill if Rhaegar is not fast enough. And that is just going to reset that cooldown over and over, or at least get the quest stacked.
And part of it, too, is that we have that level 13 come in here, Tidal Waves, instead of that Storm that you normally see, that shield that comes in. So it's going to be a little bit harder for that Ancestor Healing to connect.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like another synergy that you have. If you get these kills, you allow Li Ming to get the resets. So it works both ways.
That's very true here. That reset is available too. Here comes an arrow straight onto Li Ming. DAB is able to get out. Zarmani locked in the root, but at the bottom left, Junkrat in trouble. He gets taunted, but he's able to back out.
Blake Kidney is still alive. Where's the healing pulse? Not being used by Link just yet. The fight is still continuing here. Last Rites has not been used yet. They're still looking for a target. They're finding it, and they get the kill. Sonya is down, and that is stack number 2. Malfurion dies, the counter kill is there, Zealots are fighting back, but Maiev is in trouble.
The poke continuing to come out from Junkrat, and Podibus is leading the charge here. Mopsio is the only target left with the wave of force. He is thrown to the back left corner, and that's going to be 3 and a 4th as DAB goes in for some popping off with Calamity.
And that's exactly what we just talked about. If you get that kill with Last Rites, the resets for Li Ming allow her to get the combos off one after another. And it's a snowball that happens. 17 against 15, 9 kills against 3. Leftovers are doing such a fantastic job here. And they're also, of course, stacking Last Rites, and that is just so huge for them.
Yep, have a couple of stacks already, and they look to push down this wall. The Protector is also here for leftovers. They have that talent advantage over the Zealots, and so far, we're going to be having another fort broken in the middle, and possibly a third here, as leftovers have complete control of the map.
Did they completely stack Last Rites?
I think there was only 2 stacks.
I thought so too, but it's completed on my screen.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, we have to take a closer look at that later. I'm a bit confused about that too. But yeah, Malthael definitely having a huge impact there. And he was so patient also with his ult during the last battle. He just used it towards the end when he finally saw, hey, Sonya is low, let's get it right now.
The leftovers go ahead and start poking here on this bottom forward. Mopsio in that front line with ADRD, threatening and engage if they need to. Going to be having a little bit of poke back and forth as Shad is the next target. Lauber goes in for the condemn. Now watch out for Sonya though. She's coming in for a flank on the back left, and she could change this for Zealots.
And at this point, the Protector is just wreaking havoc. ADRD is in so much trouble. Goes straight into the silence. Link with a perfect Twilight Dream here. And that could be, again, the beginning of the end for them. But Zarmani, he just goes in and says, not on my watch. Jumps in, drops him. Ancestral comes through as we see Shad saving Sonya here. Great performance once again by Zarmani, and that was exceptionally well played. It looked like a lost cause already for Zealots, and then Zarmani comes in and gets that kill against Malthael.
He hits a spear on Junkrat and then finds that Malfurion afterwards. Sonya absolutely destroying here. Back to Zarmani's main heroes as he continues to destroy here. Getting the experience, they're only a level and a half behind now of leftovers, but they're looking to open the map.
Also, a quick correction. I think we just had a bit of a visual bug. It's 2 stacks on Last Rites. It looked like it was already completely done a bit earlier. But yeah, so they are on 2 stacks. Whatever caused that little glitch on our screen, it's already removed.
Heroes trying to sabotage us.
I was really irritated. I was just like, wait a second, am I miscalculating here? That can't be right.
Malthael becomes an absolute god using Last Rites on forts just to get those stacks
yeah,
or something.
Exactly.
Podibus and crew continue to set up for defense. Zealots actually, I was expecting to get a little bit more after those kills and try to open up the map a little bit more, maybe look towards the fort. They're still behind in experience a full level and have yet to take down a fort.
You know, it would have been funny up at the top when the game said, dude, you know what? That was so awesome. I give you 3 stacks for that. That's fine.
Dynamic stacking becomes a feature in Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, exactly that.
People at home can vote. Oh, he's playing that hero well. We'll finish the quest for him.
Okay, I think that is getting a little bit imbalanced right here. I don't think the balance team is going to be happy about that.
I think Twitch chat users would be very happy with that.
Oh yeah,
though.
Twitch chat would be very happy about that.
All right, poke already happened. Leftovers on their way to level 20, and there's a control point soon. They'll have that 20. They'll be in a commanding lead. Zealots may actually have to give up this protector on the bottom side, but can they? The fort in the top right corner, that keep, is going to be exposed.
I mean, still, the biggest problem is not only the experience, it's also that we have, again, the infrastructure that has been taken away from Zealots. They don't have access to the fort in the mid and the top anymore, and they've also lost the well at the bot lane. So Leftovers have just played a fantastic game where they didn't only control the team fights, but they were also able to get that advantage in structures. And the reason why Zealots is so hyper-aggressive at this point is that they realize in just a few seconds they're going up against Storm Talents.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem for them. So they're trying to get value before that happens. But here's the 20 now. And we see them immediately chasing Leftovers. They want that fight now. Great move here, by the way, Shad. Dropping the totem, the Earth Grass, making sure that Johanna can't get close enough for the condemn.
Oh, I wish DAB would have picked that Wave of Force Repulsion a little bit quicker there on that level 20. I think that could have been a Sonya kill. Still hasn't picked up his level 20, but we'll be seeing that pick up soon. Both him and Malthael have yet to pick their 20.
And this is actually a worrisome situation now for for Zealots. Behind an experience, behind a talent, and there's a control point activating in another 20 seconds. So Leftovers will definitely get the lead. Zealots should be able to fight on equal talents at some point, but the advantage at the start is definitely going to go over to the team in blue.
Now, Leftovers have yet to show themselves on the map. Sonya and Maiev are dealing with the middle and the top lane. An arrow even comes out for Chris. They're trying to find him. And finally, they see two members of Leftovers towards the south. And this is buying more time for Zealots to get that 20. So they'll be in a spot to fight, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Mopsio is already just sitting there. He's the one who has to be very careful with that last rights that comes out continuously. 2 stacks on the talent so far, so the cooldown reduction is starting to really kick in, especially if he's able to get a few more kills through it. And it has been a problem for the Zealots, but they have now also Ancestral back. And the tools that Chad has are just increasing as he now also picked his level 20 and went straight into the Storm Shield. So he's going to try and keep everyone alive throughout these fights. I feel a lot on this is really going to hinge on Zarmany again.
Zarmany going in for that backline, and then Chris, of course, letting this Dragon's Arrow. So let's go ahead and get the poke in. Maiev goes in for a little bit of a spoke, decides not to fully commit there as ADRD pulls away. Mopsio takes over the control point and sets down a turret.
Yeah, turret is down, and this is where Leftovers need to make sure they eliminate it as soon as they can and start to take the point again.
Yep.
So the turret is already shut down. 5-man on the point, though. Zealots really going to try and make it difficult for Leftovers to move in here. And with those assembly lines, it is a little bit harsh. Already, here comes the engage. Second turret comes out. Iron Skin has been popped, and he has the flip as we have Blick Kitten in trouble, and he goes down. Junkrat is dead, but the counter kill against Garrosh could be there. Malthael is dead, though. And that's a 2-for-1 trade now in favor of Zealots, but the buyback already started as Malthael is starting to rejoin the fight.
And Leftovers going to try and buy some time, let Linked top off Lobber here. They're going to go for one more fight around that area, and ADRD goes in to prevent that from occurring. There goes that tether. Lobber takes a little bit of damage here on the left side and is low, but here is Podibus.
Yeah, Podibus is back, and so now we're fighting a 4 versus 4 again. But Malthael this time did not get the stack for the attack, so he's in a situation where he's still on cooldown, and this is the first protector for Zealots. And we've been talking long and loud about how difficult it is when you lose these late game objectives. You can dominate the entire game. If you don't get a huge advantage by taking down a keep and then you lose out on late game objectives, this game can quickly turn against you. And that's exactly what Zealots is currently trying to accomplish here.
And without Junkrat being here, the poke is diminished quite hard here for Leftovers, so they're not able to deal with this protector as well as they would like. With 4 men pushing, Zealots are opening up this keep wall and taking down a fort already. Mopsio will be here in about 5 seconds, but Zealots will have to play a little bit on the slower side as they're across the map. Exactly.
Mopsio still has to walk the entire distance, and he actually decides against it. He moves to the top and just tries to push out the lane. But the last fight, one of the main reasons why Zealots were able to win the last fight is, again, that they were able to kill Blick Kitten this fast. They got close enough to him with Mopsio that he could get the flip, and then he just was thrown into the entire 5-man. He had no chance of survival. So Zealots started off with a great kill. Nice move here also against DAB, but the Twilight Dream and the kill as Li Ming goes down, but Maiev falls as well.
She was able to get her damage off and that wave of repulsion there, so nice job by her. Leftovers are looking for a fight. Chris goes in, but it's going to hit with the last rise. He gets taken damage, but Chris gets the Ancestor healing, so he's just fine. 4 still stand here for Zealots.
Yeah, for Polyboss, it's a bit unfortunate that the last 2 last rights didn't actually yield a kill. And he didn't use it on Maiev, where they could have gotten that additional stack for the cooldown reset. And the ones that we saw it on Hanzo, Shat reacted immediately and made sure that that didn't happen. So it's still a 1-for-1 trade. But given the situation and the protector that was moving in, leftovers are probably pretty okay with that.
Yeah. Storm Shield at level 20 for that Rhaegar, making it much easier to land that. Ancestral Healing too. Anytime a target gets hit with that last right, you're seeing Rhaegar make sure that he's in a spot to save them. And we're going to go to a 4th protector here. No keep down for either team. A little bit of damage on the top right, and that keep wall broken on the bottom left for leftovers, but we're definitely going the distance here on Volskaya Foundry.
Yeah, we definitely are. 11 kills against 7, and Zealots, of course, we know how strong they are. They just came second at the Western Clash. They're one of the strongest teams that we currently have in HGC Europe, especially in an offline environment where they are feeding off that crowd and all that hype. But now in the league environment here, we need to see if they can take the leftovers down. And it's still impressive to me how well the leftovers play. Normally, we've seen them going down with an 0-3 quite easily. There were huge gaps in levels as well, but they've been dominant in the early and the mid game here, and they definitely make it difficult for Zealots to get these wins. This game could still end in favor of Zealots, but leftovers make them work for it.
Yeah, part of it's really that poke composition from leftovers being quite annoying for Zealots to find that angle to go in for a clash. We've had only a few situations where Maiev has gotten a tether that she wants, and it still hasn't been quite enough for her to get those kills. Malfurion has walked away from a couple of the engages with a solid root right at his feet. And Zealots, though, finally being at an even talent here against their opponent, are getting a little bit aggressive on the map, scouting constantly with these Hanzo arrows and putting Garrosh in a spot where he can try and find a pick. Yeah,
and again, Link needs to be very careful that he doesn't get flipped here. That's the biggest concern now, if there's isolated kills where there's no 5-man fight. And once more, Zealots take down the structure. So they go in the middle, they take down the fort here, drop that immediately. Zealots are already attempting to set up a good position, a strong position around the next point, which is going to be here in the middle. And this time, none of the teams will have a fountain available or any kind of retreat.
Mopsio goes in, and Labra will drop a Blessed Shield. There goes the tether. Last Rites pops out too, but the Ancestral Healing has already came out. Mopsio's low in health, and there goes the taunt. Li Ming gets popped in the back left corner. Malfurion getting hit with the Ice Buff, but Garrosh goes down.
Garrosh goes down, and so does Malfurion. Now, great kill by Hanzo on Li Ming. Once again, the scatter arrow coming out, and they're trying to get another kill against Lauba. Lauba actually moving back in, trying to drop Chris, but he pops the cooldown on his Indestructible to make it happen.
So it's going to be a 2-for-1 trade in favor of the Zealots, and a control point up in 8 seconds. Zealots will start to control that area.
And not only that, they also popped Indestructible, and that's actually a big deal as well. So that's a cooldown that they would love to wait out too. Again, Polyboss not finding those kills with last rights. After we've seen the initial 2, Shat was really on point with trying to deny it. He's holding back a lot of his cooldowns to wait for Malthael to make a move, and then he immediately goes in and saves the target. Because if Malthael gets that stacking going, then this could really turn into a dire situation in the late game.
Well, speaking of last rights, it just came up. We're going to have a fight here on the bottom turrets. Labra goes in, and so does Polyboss, but Zarmany comes in with the spear and lands it. Malthael will be able to buy back, but Chris is looking for a kill before that is allowed. Blacknicky has to back up.
Not sure what that was about. Johanna dies as well. Scatter Aura once again delivering, and I have to really question the decision-making here. A 3 versus 5? You want to avoid that at all cost. And of course, there's always it's always annoying when your opponent is able to pick these turrets away from you since they establish a strong position around the control point. But now they're waiting for Johanna. They already bought back Malthael, so he doesn't have that available anymore either. And the Protector is lost. So engaging into that battle and not immediately like moving away from it, that could have lost them the game here. And they are forced into a fight they don't want to fight. They try to get the counter kill as Malthael falls, but yeah, leftovers have definitely overstepped pretty quickly here. Malfurion down, Malthael down, and with a Protector 23 minutes into the game, this should be Zealot's game to win now.
Yeah, Johanna will be here in 15 seconds, but she's not going to help too much on the defense, especially if we're going to have Bletnicki picked off, and there he goes again with a spear from Zarmany, and this should be game as Zealots charge towards this keep and start to poke it down. 3 members will not be up for at least 40 seconds. It's just Li Ming and Johanna, and they would have to pull off a miracle to defend this.
Yeah, Zealots are moving in now, and Lauba, he can't do anything here, nor can DAB. They go immediately for the core, and the shields fall within seconds. The Zealots are racing down the hit points on the core as the leftovers are about to lose game number 2. Zealots victorious on Volskaya Foundry and going for a 2-0 lead in the best of 5 series.